broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella, and I am happy to be with you today, Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, on the brand new home of The Rome Show on YouTube and X, and it's a very exciting day to remind the people, and we have it written behind us, but I do know that sometimes it gets difficult to read what's going on behind me, but head to youtube.com/the Romanellas and make sure you follow us on YouTube, where if you are watching The Rome Show live on YouTube, that is your best option to not only watch but comment if you have something you want to say live during the show. Also, you can follow the show on X. That would be The Rome Show 1. That will most likely sit in the bottom of your screen for most of the show. Subscribe to The Rome Show 1 on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. If it's a social media site, go ahead and subscribe to it, The Rome Show 1, and you'll get everything you need to know. And then finally, if you head to The Rome Show on Facebook, you will also be able to see the show streaming live. I am super excited for the new venture of The Rome Show. So please be sure to share it with a friend. Please be sure to subscribe on YouTube and X specifically, because those two are the main drags. I'll take you every single day here on The Rome Show, okay? And the topics are endless, and that's up to you as much as it's up to me. If you want to write in on social media, you want to comment, whatever the case is, we want to talk about what you want to hear on this show. My goal, as it's been for the last 6.5 years, 6.5 years of The Rome Show, my goal is to make this your everyday morning destination, as it has been for close to 100 people now consistently for about 2 years. I don't want to lose any of those people, okay? We're keeping it the same show. You just have to follow in a slightly different way. Outside of that, our goal is to make this everybody's favorite morning show. I hope you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend, because I had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. What a great way to get September started. And I'll go here with this, okay? Because if you go find the Rome Show podcast wherever you get your podcast, just search the Rome Show podcast, you'll find an episode around Christmas time, okay, where I talked about how the weirdest 7 days of the entire year are between Christmas and New Year's, because everybody kind of doesn't have something to do. Majority of people, I'm not going to put a percentage on it because I know it's not 100% of people, but a lot of people have off. And it's like one of those times where it's like, I should be productive, but I don't want to be productive, but New Year's is soon. Weird time, okay? And I think a lot of people can agree with that. Well, I feel like Labor Day weekend, not as extreme, but also a slightly weirder time. Okay, because you're spending all of Labor Day, if you're a person in school, worrying about how school starts after Labor Day weekend ends, and you can't believe the summer's over. And like, where'd the time go? How am I going to be sitting in class again on Tuesday or Wednesday? If you're an adult, though adults have to work in theory during every week of the year, unless they take vacation days or they're a teacher or myself or et cetera, in that type of job with a 2 or 2.5 month break. Most adults are like, dang, man. I mean, now you go into work and it's a real grind. Your next, I guess, break or your next time off where you feel like you can, with the rest of the world in a way, vacations, Thanksgiving, you know? I mean, you're the opposite. For the last 2 months, you've been on a summer sprint. Oh, we got to get out all the weather. We got to get all out the summer activities. We got to get on the water. We got to do all these things we want to do in the summertime. Now it's the opposite. Labor Day ends, and it's like, oh, 2 months, dead sprint, grinding, work. And it's like, man, that escalated quickly. All right. So I feel like Monday, the day of Labor Day, the laboring day, the day you're getting off, right, is actually kind of the worst because everyone's spending that day saying to themselves, man, I got to go back to work tomorrow. I can't believe it's school, X, Y, and Z. And it makes it set. And then that is very disappointing. So I hope as you trend back to going to school or getting back into your job 100% of the time or whatever the case is, we here at the Rome Show can provide you that smile. We can provide you a little bit of entertainment. Maybe on days when you're a little sad, you're not sitting at the Jersey Shore or floating on a boat drinking Surfsides, or insert any other fantastic summer activity that exists from essentially June 1st to September 1st. So make sure you subscribe to the Rome Show. Okay, the pleasantries are over. You should understand where to get the show. If you're new to the show because the new locations, welcome. We're very appreciative of having you. And if you are a repeat offender, we love you. Let's keep sharing it with your friends. Going to take 10 seconds and come back. And we are Locked On Sports here on the Rome Show, the Romanella's YouTube, and the Rome Show 1 on X. Back after this 10-second break. Welcome back into the Rome Show, airing live on YouTube and X. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella, on our new home, and we are excited about it. Follow the Romanellas on YouTube. Follow the Rome Show 1 on X. Go to Facebook. All the things. All right. Let's get into the sports here. We got a great show for the people. Weekend in review, best worst, as well as your 32 teams in 32 days. We move to the AFC East today, and we talk Miami Dolphins football and New England Patriots football. Let's start with the weekend's worst. All right, we got a few for the people here. And I don't think the first one I have on my docket is going to be very surprising at all. Your number one weekend's worst is going to go out to Archie Manning and the Texas Longhorns. Tough weekend for Arch Manning and the Longhorns. Listen, ranked number one in college football coming into the season, in my opinion, means absolutely nothing, okay? The rankings in general to start the season can be crumpled up and thrown into a trash can for all I care. So you pin a number one team against a number three team, the defending national champion, and they're on the road. Texas is at the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio, and they were held scoreless for 50-plus minutes in this game. Arch Manning was 17 for 30. He had one TD, one interception, and to be honest, it did not look anywhere like what should be the best team in the nation at all. And here's the deal. We're not going to Tuesday morning quarterback this thing and say, oh, now this team's going to be Florida State last year. They're 2-10, yada, 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 yada. No, it's not panic button time. There's 12 teams in the playoff, but for the hype train, And for what I saw, you couldn't be farther off over the weekend. A worst? Yeah, the Texas Longhorns. We continue. Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like if you watched Boise State's offense over the weekend. Oh my God. This might have happened on Thursday, and we might have talked about it for a quick moment on Friday. I don't remember. Okay, but what is this? Okay, what? They lost 34-7, and before that game, if you watched any of the Boise State pregame, okay, versus USF, South Florida, that is, it was all about how Ashton Jeanty wasn't the only reason they were good last year and yada, 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 and all these things about how they want to create their own identity without Ashton Jeanty. At the end of the day, the guy was the best running back in college football, the second vote for the Heisman, broke Barry Sanders' record. Why? Not just because he was one guy that happened to be okay. He was your team. You were in the college football playoff because he's on your team. It is okay that one singular person can make your team that much better, okay? And I don't believe it was just him. And I do believe it's just a week one thing. And I do believe, like most years at Boise State, they'll end up being pretty to really good. But I just think it's one of those things where you almost come off disrespectful in your pregame interviews when in actuality, you knew it wasn't going to be the same. So just chill, okay? I get it. You're tired of hearing about the guy probably. Everyone else believes that they're also a reason why the team was good. Just be honest with yourselves. Ashton Jeanty, the reason you had whatever you had last year, though there are other good players on the team, Boise State, you get the sad drop. Oh, yeah, we mentioned Arch Manning and Texas having an atrocious start to the season. Well, how about the Alabama Crimson Tide, but more specifically, Kalen DeBoer, the head ball coach of Alabama, will probably not be the head ball coach of Alabama for that much longer. If you look at one statistic that's been circling all over social media for the last 2 days, 230 plus games or something like that, coached by Nick Saban in his time with the Crimson Tide, 4 total losses. 4 total to unranked opponents. Kalen DeBoer has coached 14 games against unranked opponents in his year and a half as the Alabama head ball coach. And he has 4 losses against unranked teams. Alabama got beat by FSU 31-17 on opening night. That is 100% the sad trombone. And not good for Alabama football and Kalen DeBoer. Finally, we got one more sad trombone. Play it the loudest, people. Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels were atrocious last night. I don't know if anyone watched any of that game. If you didn't, the reason why you tuned into the Rome show is so I could give you a rundown on that brutal contest. And the wild part about it is, if you're watching that game, you watch the fact that North Carolina comes out like hot. They went, I think, like 7 to 10 plays, 83 yards, a touchdown. The place was bumping. It felt to me like, wow, okay, this is exciting. And obviously, how could you not be excited if you're a North Carolina fan after that first drive? Well, they had 23 more yards the rest of the first half, and then they got blown out in the second half, 28-7, 48-14 in the game. TCU, shout out to the Horned Frogs for ruining Bill Belichick's debut. First time in college football, slaughtered by 25 plus. That is the definition of the. Those are your weekend worst as rated on by your show host, Andrew Romanella. How about the weekend's best, people? Oh, this one's a little bit more fun. I got 3 of them, and they are a variety. Let's give them the applause. How about number 1, Kyle Larson? Now, Rocky Romanella is the resident NASCAR expert in this show space, okay? And if you're new to the Rome Show on our new destinations, Rocky joins us once a week for Rocky's Roundups during the off season and Hockey with Rocky during the hockey season. He was talking to us about last week, you missed it, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. He was talking last week about how the NASCAR playoffs are starting, and he was explaining the 2.5 month schedule. Well, over the weekend, Kyle Larson wins the Southern 500, leading for over 200 plus laps, and collects his first victory in the playoff on the first race, getting himself started very nicely during the next 8 weeks of playoffs. Congrats to Kyle Larson winning race 1 of the NASCAR playoffs. Clap those hands. Your second weekend best is the Texas Rangers. And you might be like, what the hell, the Texas Rangers? What this man talking about? Well, if you haven't noticed, you need to notice, because we are in the last month of the baseball season. Teams have between 25 and 32 games remaining as a rough estimate. And the Texas Rangers have won 5 straight, 8 of their last 9, and 9 of their last 10. Not only is that just a really good run for a baseball team that has aspirations of winning another World Series, something they did 2 years ago, but that also now puts the Rangers 1.5 games back of the Seattle Mariners for the 3rd wild card position. It's, by the way, won 6 in a row and 9 of the last 10 because they won late last night after I did my research. Nonetheless, 1.5 games back of the Mariners, fighting for the wild card spot. And when you look at it, okay, this is a race that is not going to be over. And we've talked about Major League Baseball a lot in the last few months and how the Major League Baseball parity has been really exciting this year. Well, the fact that we can flip this right now and talk about how the Rangers are in, if I would have said this 3 weeks ago, you would be like, you are a crazy person. Not anymore. Texas Rangers, give them the claps. They do have some tough games coming up, though. Everyone they have remaining on their schedule, minus 1 team, should be a playoff contender. Finally, your final weekend best goes to the aforementioned Florida State Seminoles and Mike Norvell, more specifically their head coach, who endured arguably the worst season-to-season turnaround in the history of college football. Went undefeated in 2023, sadly and brutally, didn't make the playoffs. Most of the reason why the playoff has been expanded is because of what happened to Florida State. Now, there were talks of expansion before that. It was going to get expanded regardless, but it was expedited when Florida State went undefeated and didn't make the college football playoff because of some BS, okay? Then in 2024, and because the transfer portal is a thing, he loses his entire team. Okay, they all leave. They don't think they can go win a national championship at Florida State anymore. Whatever they believe, because kids are transferring regardless now anyways. And the Florida State Seminoles went 2-10 last year. 2-10? They were terrible. Like so bad that you're like, wait, should this guy be the head coach? Like, in theory, it's not really his fault, okay? But a lot of things start to be questioned at those big programs when you have a 2-10 season. Forget what you've done before that. A 2-10 season at a Power 4 conference football program, unless you're the bottom percentile of those conferences, is not good. And Mike Norvell, so eloquently, so beautifully, comes out of the opposite side. And not only goes into this season with no expectations, therefore most can all be better, goes out and beats Alabama 31-17. And not that this is a great Alabama team. Kellen DeBoer and his program have their own issues, but it's Alabama, okay? It's a team that even bad last year was probably 8-4, whereas bad last year, Florida State's 2-10. You don't go from 2-10 to beating teams in the SEC by 14 points, but they did that. And now you say to yourself, well, what's Florida State going to be? I don't know. It's a crapshoot. 10-0 or 11-0, 2-10, who knows? But at the end of the day, you deserve applause, Mike Norvell and the Florida State Seminoles, because that's a tough situation to get through, and you came out the other side, at least for a week, looking like a champion and a coach that deserves the job he has, and is a coach that I'd want to play for, clearly. Because if you can handle that the way he did and get players to still want to come and play for you, and then you make them, and you're good, there's plenty of places you can go play now in the country that are just like Florida State is, 2-10 or not 2-10, right? So kudos to Mike Norvell. Those are your weekend worst and your weekend best, as decided on by me. You're listening to The Rome Show here on the Romanellas on YouTube and The Rome Show 1 on X. Be sure to follow both. The Rome Show is new to the Romanellas on YouTube. It has been retweeted in the past on the Rome Show 1 on X. Either way, those are our two primary destinations for right now, so we need you to subscribe to both. We are going to take a quick break here on the Rome Show. When we come back, okay, we are going to talk 32 teams in 32 days. Miami Dolphins and New England Patriots, because I don't know if you realize this, but National Football League season starts in 48 hours. Yeah, wild, right? So we got to get you ready for it, and we've been doing it for over a month now, and we want to finish it strong. We got 6 teams left to get to you by Thursday, so stick with us here on The Rome Show. The Romanellas on YouTube, The Rome Show 1 on X. By the way, you want to sponsor the next commercial? Do it. Reach out to us. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Rome Show. Broadcasting live on the Romanellas YouTube and the Rome Show 1 on X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I'm fired up to see the people tuning in to the new destination. We've always retweeted the show on the Rome Show 1 on X, but you could just follow the Rome Show 1 on X, and you could see it live every time. If you comment on the YouTube, we'll get those comments on the show here, and we'll be able to respond to you live. All right, let's finish this show strong, ladies and gentlemen, with your 32 teams, 32 days. American Football Conference East, starting with the Miami Dolphins. All right. Well, if you are a watcher of the Rome Show, or any iteration of the Rome Show over the last 6.5 years, you will know that I am a Miami Dolphins fan by trade. Been a Dolphins fan my whole life, despite what my family is fans of, which is the New York Football Giants. Dan Marino, Ricky Williams, love the Fins, love them, okay? However, I'll start my breakdown for 2025 with this. I'm not positive about this Miami Dolphins football team, and I wrote down 3 reasons why. Before I give you that, I remind you, okay, that this team was essentially a 500 football team last year at 8-9, but for the second straight year have dealt with injury concerns from their starting quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Missed 6 games last year when Tua was out. During that span, 2-4 the Miami Dolphins were. So I have no greater questions for the Miami Dolphins than the health of Tua Tagovailoa. They signed Zach Wilson, former New York Jets first-round pick, as the backup quarterback to Tua, which actually could be the most important position on the team, truthfully, okay? And this is a franchise that one time had Matt Moore starting as the quarterback, led them to the playoffs, but because he got hurt, you then have Ryan Fitzpatrick quarterbacking. Jay Cutler was a quarterback for this team, but the three names I just threw out alone that have helped get this team or attempted to or were in the postseason. Remember, I think it was Matt Moore maybe over for Ryan, but I can't remember which one it was, but they were terrible in the playoff. It was a backup quarterback. It was for Ryan Tannehill, excuse me. Matt Moore took over for Ryan Tannehill. Best year Ryan Tannehill ever had for a Miami Dolphins quarterback, and led the Dolphins to the playoffs, but Matt Moore was the quarterback because Ryan Tannehill got hurt for the rest of the year. That could be the most important position for the Miami Dolphins. It was for the Philadelphia Eagles when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl for them behind Carson Wentz. I don't know if we're going to see Zach Wilson. That's the first question I have about this team. What's up with Tua? And on top of that, I could take that a step further. Tyreek Hill had a rough offseason mentally and a rough offseason physically, dealing with the oblique injury, though he should be healthy starting the season. And Devon Achane, their running back, who I know a lot of people are trying to get in fantasy, okay, believe he's going to have a good year. He had a calf issue, okay, but he should be healthy to start the season. That's so many question marks for me. Number 2 on this team of the question marks is offensive and defensive line, or excuse me, offense and defense in general. Here are some major position changes. Offensive line, defensive line, secondary, and tight end. The changeover in those 4 rooms right there, okay? O-line, D-line. I mean, if you listen to the Rome Show consistently, you know all I do is get up here and bark about how the trenches matter so much in football. That's the first thing, okay? Secondary, with some big names leaving, and tight end, Jonnu Smith out. That's the 4 right there. Forget what we just talked about with the quarterback. Forget what we just talked about with the running back. There are multiple new players in all of those position groups. Like if you go ChatGPT this thing and you check out the changes on the Miami Dolphins roster, those 4 positions have the most. Those are major positions, okay? And this defense was good last year for the Miami Dolphins, and that's something they need to mimic if they want to be good this year, okay? So, 10th in the league in opponents' points per game, 12th in the league in yards per game allowed, 14th in the league in rushing yards per allowed, and 18th in the league in passing yards allowed. If you look at the 2 entities, the offense and the defense is better returning. Okay? Offense was 18 to 20 ranking-wise. Defense was 10 to 14 ranking-wise. And you had a lot of changes on that defensive side of the ball. We'll see what happens. Lastly, okay, the problem I have with the Dolphins going into 2025 is I don't feel like there's a high ceiling. I feel like there's a really low floor. I feel like the floor could go way through the basement and towards the equator. I don't feel like the ceiling is but higher than 10-7. Seriously. And I think I'm stretching for a 10-7. There are too many question marks. There's also question marks on Mike McDaniel into his 5th year. Like, is he the guy that's going to get this team actually to win? Just so many question marks for me. I actually, unfortunately, sadly, have the Miami Dolphins finishing at 7-10 this season. Vegas has the over-under at 7.5 right now. And their odds to make the playoffs are plus 225. So right on the line there are the Miami Dolphins, according to Vegas. Let's flip the script now to their division foe, the New England Patriots, okay, who come back this season with not a lot of expectations. And not because they're not putting expectations on themselves, but because they were 4-13 last season, and they have a new head coach this year in Mike Vrabel. Now, Mike Vrabel, during his time in Tennessee, who I did not think could fire him, but that was just my opinion, 54-45, 2 playoff appearances, That aforementioned Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback for him for a lot of that time. That team also got rid of Derrick Henry, which is wild to me, and then traded some other players, A.J. Brown including. Just kind of a wild breakdown from the Tennessee Titans. But Mike Vrabel better than getting fired by them a year and a half ago. I think this Patriots team is going to be significantly better. So first and foremost, how's it look with the new coaching staff? That's an easy question. Secondly, again, much like we just talked about with the Dolphins, why I did them in similarly same day. Such a retooling of this roster. Drake May comes back as your second-year quarterback, which is huge because that's a really important position to start garnering some experience and hopefully have that person for the next 10 years. But a lot of retooling on this roster. And like I wrote down in my notes, starting with the coaching staff. And how about that dude, Josh McDaniels, coming back again to be the offensive coordinator? I don't know. Do you keep going to the well and getting rewarded for it? I feel like you don't deserve that. But Mike Vrabel, Patriots franchise, is going back to the well with Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, for the third time. Number 3, we just mentioned Drake May. What's his development like? Because if Mike Vrabel, with his defensive-minded coaching, comes in and makes the changes to the Patriots, much like he did with Tennessee, instantaneously making them a team you got to deal with and making them a contender, do you then have the quarterback that will take you to the next level when it comes to Drake May? And I think that's a big question for this team. Last year, Drake May, 2,276 throwing yards, 15 TDs, 10 INTs, but 421 on the ground as well. So he amassed nearly 2,600 yards in total. Lastly, as we mentioned, the quarterback, usually what goes well with a quarterback is a really good running game. Ramondre Stevenson had about 800 yards last year and 7 TDs. Not an explosive running game. And then to add to that, the wide receiver core. I think their leading wide receiver returns with only 600 yards last year or something like that. That's not what you're looking for if you're the Patriots. So though I think Mike Vrabel's the right hire, and though I am afraid as a Dolphins fan in division that this team is going to get back to a scenario they were with Bill Belichick, sustainably good, I don't think it's going to be this season, okay? There's still a lot that has to be determined, and there needs to be more weapons on that offense, or you're going to have to win every game 13-10. So I have the New England Patriots finishing at 6-11 this season under new head ball coach Mike Vrabel. According to Vegas, they have better odds to make the postseason than the Miami Dolphins at plus 140. And their over-under for win total is a game higher at 8.5. Now, I definitely believe in Mike Vrabel, and I definitely believe that Drake May should be the quarterback of the future. And they got some good rookies and all these other things. Their strength schedule is not hard, all that stuff, but that's a big jump. Now we've seen it happen. It's not out of the question. I think if there's a coach to do it, it's going to be this guy. But I have the Patriots finishing at 6-11. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Rome Show here on its new destination, youtube.com/the Romanellas or x.com/Rome Show 1. We hope you enjoyed it, people. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:05 a.m. Hopefully with some Rockies rundown. Hopefully with some content for the people. And hopefully to make your day that much better. If you want to sponsor the show, be a commercial, or be involved, reach out to the Rome Show 1 on X. Andrew Romanella, thank you to everybody who tunes into the Rome Show. Until tomorrow, be electric today. Peace.
Thank you for listening.